Hey guys, it's Scott and Andy from Beta Boys Media, along with an extremely special guest in the house, well, over the interwebs. We have James Rolfe from Angry Video Game Nerd and Cinemassacre. James, thank you so much for doing this interview with us, man. This is a pleasure.
Oh, thank you guys.
Awesome, dude. Now, so I want to start off, like, right off the bat, I want to start off with, like, I feel like pretty much everything about you has probably been said. Like, I swear, like...
Yeah, I know. It must be hard. It must be, like, really hard to come up with a question.
Well, no, actually, to be honest, like, it actually made it kind of easier because everybody's gotten the bio out of the way. They know where you live.
Okay.
Like, you basically, short of you putting your address out there, everybody knows everything about you.
Yeah. Like, filtered it all down, yeah.
Yeah, well, and what's interesting to me in preparing for this interview, I kind of went back into some of the old Cinemassacre stuff, and I found some, like, gems that I kind of wanted to talk to you about. Now, I found, like, an old, like, student film on there where they were, like, interviewing you at college. Do you remember this?
I'm trying to think of which one. Would it be the No Budget Dream one that a fellow student?
Okay. I think so, and it was somebody interviewing you, and what was so interesting to me about this is that I couldn't tell if you were See, like, I only know you from the Angry Video Game Nerd videos, you know, like, and maybe an interview here or there. But in this video, like, it was almost like night and day. And, like, they were interviewing you about, like, I'm assuming this is before you went out and you kind of did all your stuff. And it looks like you were in college. And it's so interesting to me, like, when's the last time you watched that video, by the way?
A long time ago, but it must have been. I'm assuming it's the No Budget Dream.
Yeah,
it was called Rolfe on No Budget Dream. Okay.
Yeah. That's it. There's like a little mini doc made about you or whatever.
The only thing I remember about it was I was like a little sick, so my voice is a little bassy in that video. That's the only thing I remember. And then, no, I remember I said something in it at the end where I was like, without my movies, I'm nobody.
That's
like that. So I know a lot of people brought that up to me. Like they I don't know, they just found that real interesting.
Well, yeah. And to me, like, it's almost like, I'm not going to say you're a completely different person, but, and now talking to you, it seems like you've kind of really come out of a shell. Like, would you say that?
Yeah.
Have you, like, really grown up throughout the years, like, coming out of, like, were you, like, really introverted as a kid and stuff? Like, tell me about that process.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty accurate, that I was very introverted, and making movies was something that gave me a voice. It was like a way to express myself, and that I was a really positive experience. So, like, you know, that's why I'm always glad to see when younger people who are, you know, my age at that time, you know, and going through the same thing. And then it's good to, like, I always like to encourage people to pursue arts and things like that, to give yourself some confidence, you know, give yourself something to, you know, feel good about. And that's pretty much what it's all about.
For sure. And like, through the years, obviously you have, like, this kind of core group of guys that you do stuff with. You got Motherfucker Mike Matei, and Bad Luck Bootsy, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of speak to how important it is to have a good team around you, because you can't do everything alone, right? Even though your videos kind of seem like they might be done alone or whatever, you have a team behind you, right?
Yeah. Exactly, just like you said, it's great to have people who are, like, really loyal, and they're, you know, I don't know what else to say about it. I'm, like, trying to think of something.
Do you actually shoot your own stuff usually? Do you set up a camera? Like, it seems that way. Or do you actually have people shooting you most of the time, or is it usually by yourself?
It depends. It's like certain videos, it's all hands on deck where everybody's there. Like the last thing we did that was crazy was the Sega Activator Interactor video. And that video, because it had so many things that were one take, where something was going to get destroyed and it was only going to happen once. We had like at least 3 people on camera. So I know Mike was there, Kyle, Bootsy, everybody was there. And me and Nathan are in the spotlight, and we're pretty much just we're not able to keep running around looking at cameras and stuff. So I mean, I did a lot of that, because I'm always running back and forth, but it was mainly just all hands on deck, just having everybody helping out. But then there's videos where if it, like what was the last nerd? Sonic 06. Yeah, that one I did all by myself.
So
wow.
Wow. Also editing side as well. So you do the editing as well?
Oh, the editing, yeah. So it's basically I'm writing, then I'm shooting, then I'm editing, and then I go back to picking out the next game for the next one.
Nice.
So it's a constant rinse and repeat cycle.
Now, has that become your primary form of survival, I guess you could say?
Yeah, it has. So you have to be able to keep it fun, because that's my biggest fear. Is I don't want it to just become a job where it becomes boring. That's why every nerd video, I'm always thinking of creative ways to keep it fresh. Because I'm like, it's like almost 150 episodes now. So
nice.
I don't want it to be to feel like a grind, like something that I'm doing the same thing over and over again. So I change it up and keep it interesting for me, and then hopefully that keeps it interesting for the audience too. But I do the movie reviews too, and whatever other videos. So it's the only thing about doing this type of thing to support a family, you got to keep it going constant. You can't do one video and then a month later you do another one. So I have videos coming out like every week. These are mostly movie reviews or things. You have to come with ideas of like things that don't
constantly come out.
Yeah, because like a nerd video, that could take like 2 weeks to do one or more. So those can't be as often, or else it would be sucking the time out of everything else.
And I have a question because of your self-success through YouTube. Have you ever been approached by like production companies? Has anyone tried to approach you about like maybe doing like a show, or have you ever been reached? I'm just curious if people have reached out to you because of your success. I mean, or are you definitely like pushing people away to kind of keep your thing the way it is, which is great, original, and obviously it's doing well for yourself just the way it's been. But I'm just curious if you've ever had outside anyone ask you stuff like that outside of it?
No, nothing major. There's nothing major that would have been like, life changing like that. And also it seems like this is really just the best way to go.
Yeah.
For me, in my situation, this is the best way to go about it. Cause, like when I was a kid, I just was thinking like, oh, I want to make movies. I want to be a director. But I was also like, well, how am I going to do that? How's that going to happen? And then things happen in unexpected ways. And then YouTube happened. And then that opened up a lot of possibilities. So now it's like, it's not exactly what I was thinking. I wasn't like, oh, I want to make game reviews. That wasn't the original idea, but it's still a really awesome thing that happened. And, and now the movie thing is still kind of like a hobby. So at least that's still like, it still feels like, I'm never going to be able to get bored of doing a movie, because I'm not somebody like a major director who does it constantly. So it's always going to be the side thing, when there's free time.
Right.
Now, you've been on YouTube for like 10 plus years, right? Like, has it been 10 years, I think? Something like that.
Yeah, pretty much since YouTube started.
Unreal.
So it's been, this is the 11th year now.
Yeah, and how much, like, tell me how much it's changed over the years. Like, have you you've seen the genesis of it, you've seen the beginning, and like, how has YouTube changed over the years?
It's changed a lot. I think, I don't know, I think there's more, it's more professional now, I think. Like, there's just a lot more major companies that, like, pretty much everything now has a YouTube channel. Back then it was sort of it was a big thing still, but it was just more average people on it, and there still is, but now it's just like everything. Everybody's on YouTube, so it just got more, I guess, busy. Like it's just a lot more people are on it.
Yeah, and you could tell that like companies are putting sometimes like music videos, for instance, are their production value on YouTube is ridiculous now. Like, you know, they putting high-end quality stuff on there. I remember YouTube was always like, you could put anything, it doesn't matter the quality, it'll be fine on YouTube. But now there's kind of like the bar has been raised, but I think that you keep an originality to your style. And I think that helps you the most because you've stuck to who you are and you've been there for 10 years. And it seems like you haven't really changed. You know, you haven't really changed. And that's like the best part about what you do. And,
cool.
And I have another question. Like, I used to do short films when I was in an era in high school where we didn't have YouTube yet. And I was shooting short films. And I was like, did you ever like think like, oh, we could do this on public access? And like that was exciting for you.
Yeah, what were the first plans?
Like, what were the first plans before YouTube? Like, could you even exist without YouTube? You think? Like,
oh yeah, I don't know. It was film festivals, and even those were just a gamble because first of all they costed money to send your film out, so you couldn't do it that much. It was like, you know, like every year I might send out to like maybe 5 festivals or something like that, and they all have the same generic criteria. They just say, oh, we're looking for young filmmakers with new visions, and it's like, okay, well, here's a movie, and then usually, you know, you don't hear anything back. You don't even get feedback or anything. It's just a very blind process. And then there were once broadband internet came out, and then there was a website called studentfilms.com. You'd send in a tape. You send them a VHS tape, and it's $1 per minute. You pay them like if the movie's 12 minutes, you pay them $12 for the year, and they'll put they'll digitize your tape. They'll upload it on their site, and then there'd be like maybe 4 people would comment on it in the year. You'd actually have some comments and everything. And I was like, oh my God, wow, that's awesome. You know, some people saw it. And then YouTube came out. It's like, oh, wait a minute, you could just do it for free now, and you could just post it. And it's like, oh, wait, now you can actually get paid for it too. Like, it's just things have really gotten a lot easier. Where before it was just impossible.
I guess sticking to like the YouTube subject, when did monetizing start for you? Like, I don't know that history of YouTube, but I'm assuming they didn't have monetizing when it came out, right? Or did they?
Oh, no, not at all. It was a slow process, just persistentness, basically, of just constantly being persistent. Because I mean, the videos they were made for free, everything for years and years,
right?
And that wasn't even like the original goal. It wasn't. You weren't even thinking about it that way. And then, you know, I had to make a living on other sites, or else I wouldn't have been able to, you know, keep doing the videos. So there was game trailers,
right,
and selling merch. There was a lot of things.
Right.
It pretty much was everything but YouTube at one point, and now
interesting.
A lot of it is YouTube. So it was just very, it's basically like a tiny piece here, tiny piece there, and it all kind of adds up into something. We're like, okay, I don't have to deliver pizzas anymore or something like that, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, like about that moment when you figured out when you didn't have to deliver pizzas anymore, like was there ever a time where you were like, man, I don't think this is going to work. I need to figure something out. I need to go back to school or something. Did you ever feel like you had to quit or at one point and push through? Or
quit the nerd videos?
Well, yeah. Was there a gap in there? Like you just mentioned delivering pizzas. Did you actually deliver pizzas?
No, just an example.
Okay, fair enough.
Still, you know, let's see, like I worked, my last job before doing anything video related was a liquor store.
Nice.
All right.
It was perfect for AVGN.
That's true.
In fact, I made the first those 2 pilot episodes. I was still at the liquor store.
Wow.
But after that, I got a job doing industrial safety videos, and I was shooting and editing weddings. I was doing a lot of corporate work. So I was doing that for a while, and then the nerd kind of like it happened during the course of all that. It was like later on during that, and it was a side thing, just something where like, you know, just in my free time at home, I started doing those, and then people liked them, so I kept doing more and more and more, and then it grew after that.
Now, going back to the beginning, like the breaking out of your shell, all that good stuff, like, did you ever see yourself being the main talent? And, like, was that hard to get used to, or did it come natural?
Oh, you mean like the main actor?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was always what I'd have to do when there was nobody else.
Right.
So like a lot of the old movies I made, I was always like the primary actor, even though I didn't want to be. It was just because
because you had to be.
Not because I didn't really like mind being on camera. It was more about I wanted to be on the other side of the camera so I could look at what was going on and see what was happening. It was just so much easier. And then
it just worked out. You kind of fell into it, huh?
Yeah. And nowadays it just works out. Now I can't see it being any easier than that, where if someone else was the nerd, if I wasn't the nerd, then I'd have, work with somebody else's schedule. But it's just so much easier when you shoot it whenever you have the time to. So you do it on your own schedule, and it's really like a one-man sort of thing. Even though a lot of the videos have some help, but like the production of it, if it's just the nerd on the couch, if it's a simple video, then I run the camera and do all that.
Sure.
Nice.
Now, on the street, are you recognized often, and like do people kind of poke and prod you? Like a lot of like celebrities say, they're like, "Oh, I hate it when this guy comes up and goes, 'Hey, do the nerd, come on, man, do the nerd.'" That ever happened to you?
Oh, I'm glad that it's never gotten to that. Like, it's never at that point where it's too much. I think what I have is perfect. What I have is like the right amount, where like I can still go out of the house and function just like any normal person.
Right.
But very often people come up and they're really nice, and they say like, "Hey, I love your videos and everything," and that's cool. So I have no issues with it like whatsoever.
Now, I wonder if anybody's ever asked you this question, but the cursing. Now, I curse a lot now personally, but it's just in the back of my mind, like as a business guy somewhat, I'm like, if he took the cursing out, then it could be a kid's show, et cetera, et cetera. But, have you ever, has that ever crossed your mind? You're like, oh, maybe if I took the cursing out, or is the cursing kind of part of the character?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's become part of the character. It's become what people expect. And it just goes with playing video games for some reason. Like, video games bring the cursing out.
Right.
But there was one time earlier on, like probably within the first year of it being on YouTube, I did think about that once. I was like, I wonder if this could probably, be on TV if it didn't have cursing or something. Like, maybe I should bleep out the cursing, because I'm a fan of bleeping out cursing. I think it's funny when you hear like a constant beep.
It actually makes it funnier. It actually at times.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, it could also ruin it when they do the thing where they silence it. I hate that.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
or like rap songs. When they do that in rap songs, it's awful.
Yeah, it just sounds like something's going wrong with your ears. It sounds like somebody's just like plugging your ear constantly. Put a beep on it, because it's silly. It's just a word anyway.
Right.
But then afterwards, I'm glad I never did that. I'm glad that you can still hear the cursing, because there's more ways you could say. Like, if I just say fuck, or if I say fuck, or like really bring it out, there's different emotions you can get from the way you say the words.
For sure. Now, have you ever come up with a backstory? I know you've. Now, I watched like the Board James stuff and all that, and I know that there's a rich backstory and history to all that you've created. Do you have something similar to the nerd? I don't need any spoilers or anything or secrets, but do you have like a lore for the nerd? Like where he came from? Did he was he birthed? Like, is he immaculate conception or what? Like,
we never went into like parents or anything like that. I mean, I thought of that. Like I thought about Steve Urkel, how he's he became a main character on Family Matters over the course of 7 seasons, and they allude to his parents every once in a while,
right.
But I think only once you hear his mother's voice like call him, but she's like off screen. His dad is like mentioned like a few times, like there's some stories about him, and then I thought about that. I'm like, that's for that type of character, for that situation, it's probably best that the parents are off screen, and I figured that's probably the same thing with the nerd. Like you just don't really get into it that much. It's kind of just you leave it as a mystery.
Sure.
So I never really did go that far. But then as far as I sort of reveal enough just for when it's necessary. Like in the movie, he has a deep-rooted fear of the E.T. game,
right?
And
right.
But that's so important to the plot of the movie. So you'd go into his backstory, you'd unravel it just enough for what you need. But I've never actually purposely went back and been like, okay, well, here's a whole backstory, and this is everything that there is.
Speaking of the movie, we actually screened it with our friends over at Cine Artistry here in LA, and we met your buddy Kevin as well. I wanted to ask you a few questions about the movie, just like the experience overall. He had some interesting stuff to say about it, and I mean, you're the brainchild of it. Like, you guys kind of got together and did it together in a way. There's just like, since it's a huge thing, huge endeavor, it's like you could ask a million questions about it. But I'm kind of wondering, like, what do you want people to take away from the movie? Like, is it, maybe take it from there. Like, you have this movie and people have watched it. What do you hope people take away from it?
What I hope people take away from it is that you could do anything you want, really. Like, you can imagine whatever you want to do, and there's still a way you could make a movie out of it, no matter what budget you have. Because I think the common thing is that if you don't have hundreds of millions of dollars, like in a major Hollywood production, especially with this being such an ambitious story.
Yeah,
right.
No joke.
That happens in this movie that really, like, we were out of our minds to do that. Like, everybody was like, "Oh, you're out of your mind. You can't do this. You can't do this." And then we proved that we did right. it, and it's possible. So it just doesn't matter how much money you have. Like, you can still tell us a story that has that kind of scope. It's a lot more difficult than if we were to, because like commonly with independent films, usually they stay away from things that have like all kinds of special effects
and multiple locations.
Yeah, like tons and tons of locations. So like it's advised not to do that, because it's advised not to do what we did, because it's like, no matter what you do, like if you don't have the same budget as the Hollywood productions, it's just not going to look as good as those.
Right.
Like, because we were going for like this blockbuster thing, and so we just proved that it's possible. So we did it. That's what I hope people get away. I hope it's inspiring.
Do you think you have another one in you? I know we asked Kevin for fun, like if he could ever see there be a sequel, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a sequel. But do you have another movie in mind, or are you planning on ever doing another movie?
Yeah. Although I like Kevin's idea better with J.J. Abrams doing it.
I want to see that.
That was funny.
We know people that know JJ. Maybe we could put a word in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people suggest, but the sequel would be Sword Quest if we did it. And
oh, for sure.
It's just that it took 8 years if you count the writing. Like, from the moment we started writing a script to the moment we actually had a movie and it was actually playing in front of people, it was like an 8-year process.
That's amazing.
And to put 8 years into, again, it would it would have to top the first movie. It would have to be just as ambitious or more. It would have to like it would be kind of weird to start with this epic story and then scale it down to something smaller. So I feel like if I'm not going to go even crazier with it, then what's the point? And like I had a daughter born in the middle of the post production of the last one, and it's not going to. Things are so different now with me.
Yeah.
I have less and less time every year.
Right.
So it's just not it's not possible anymore. But I am planning to do a completely separate movie that has nothing to do with the nerd. I mean, I have tons of ideas that it just became like a tournament in my brain to like decide between each of them. So every one of these ideas is battling it out till it narrows down to something. And I think it's probably going to be a horror film.
Awesome.
Probably an atmospheric, like more of an atmospheric horror film. It would be something that's shot in just a few locations, so it's going to have more of a claustrophobic kind of feel. It's not going to be like the nerd movie is a very colorful movie. Every scene you're in a different place. This would be more like a lot more of a brooding film, and it would be a lot easier to shoot. Still, with any movie, nothing's easy. It's going to be a big project, but it's not going to be as huge as that.
Sure.
That's cool.
Like, what are your goals for the future? Obviously, you're continuing to keep Cinemassacre running, the YouTube, the website, and all that stuff. And it sounds like you want to put another movie into production. But like, as far as like long-term goals are, like, where do you see yourself going? Like, you've already reached this this level, all by your maybe not all by yourself, but pretty much on your own. Like, where do you see yourself going next?
I don't know. I mean, but as long as it just leads to continuing to do art, that's all I care about. Is just if I'm able to keep doing my art in some way. I keep the web series all going. Like I have to keep those coming on a consistent basis. So it doesn't leave me with any free time really, but I am slowly inching towards trying to get this movie made. And then,
cool.
So that's really all it is. It's just, I'm happy just doing the web series. And then when there's time, I work on the film projects.
Yeah. So there's a possibility of seeing an 80-year-old nerd screaming and yelling at a retro video game.
Hey,
that might even be cool.
It seems like it's not going away. I mean, I was
that's cool.
I was joking about Street Fighter 2010 way before that, and then 2010 came and went.
Yeah.
I even mentioned Raid 2020 in a video, and that was just like complete joke. Like, oh yeah, 2020. And now it's 2 years away.
Yeah, right around the corner.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So Raid 2020 in 2020, maybe we'll see.
That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
That's cool.
I'll stick to my word if I'm still doing it 2 years, which it seems like I am. So
right,
sure,
that's cool.
A lot of
it would be cool to I don't know, go on like a long break and then do the nerd comeback and then
the return
of the nerd.
Do like a Harrison Ford.
That's true. That dude will not stop. He won't die either. Like he crashed like 3
twice.
planes.
Like I think he almost crashed. Yeah, he won't die except in Attack. The newest Star Wars.
And
spoiler
a helicopter. Alert. I don't know. They're just gonna kill him off in every movie that he's doing right now. Like, they're just gonna keep killing Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Blade Runner 2. Like really?
Yeah.
That's happening.
That's
coming out this year.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you how do you feel about the current climate of movies? We're in an era that seems to be fraught with reboots, remakes, etc. and stuff. Like, do you still go to the movies a lot? Are you afraid for the future? Like, how do you feel about the climate right now?
Oh, well, I try to go to theater as much as I can. I mean, I pretty much. I don't get a chance to go to the movies much, but I do, the reviews sometimes. So I have to sort of select like a few summer blockbusters to do each year.
Sure.
There's a bunch coming out this year, and the ones that get on my radar and the ones that probably would interest my audience the most are the ones that have to do with franchises.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of sequels, a lot of reboots. So pretty much most of the stuff I'm doing is either based on something or,
Yeah.
But then it's usually like in the quiet months or like in the winter, I start looking into like the Oscar films and like what other movies that aren't superhero movies and aren't, franchises. And then, so yeah, pretty much like those are things I just watch sort of on my own time. I don't really discuss them much because it's not really pop culture enough. Yeah.
Right.
But I think that's where the surprises come. That's where you can find original stuff because, that's what we need. We're looking for original stuff right now when everything pretty much the stuff that gets thrown in your face, that has all the marketing behind it and everything, are all non-original. It's all just sequels and reboots.
Right.
Yeah, so then on the other side of the coin, what do you think of how the video game industry has grown? Do you think that has grown in a positive way? Like how movies are kind of like sequels, this, blah, 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 but video games is a new outlet for creative content, and it seems like there's just a ton of it now, even more so.
Oh, I think it's cool that there's so many independent game designers now. There's just so many interesting games on Steam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan of indie games on Steam. I get caught buying like the $3 games that I'll probably play once, So
yeah,
it's fun.
So it's cool. The people who played the games in the 80s are now making them. So we're starting to see this wave of retro-inspired games.
Dude, totally.
But even though they're retro-inspired,
new retro,
they
yeah.
always, yeah.
It's not even. It's not even like it's like accepting for there to be retro-looking games that are new. So new retro, whatever you want to call it.
Which
is
retro.
And they play different. They're not even just retro. They're also like they seem to all have like unique ideas too. And then all the really big budget games are cool too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but still, like a lot of things. The only thing I carve out some time to play, it's usually like something familiar, I guess, because Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's like I have to. If there's a new Zelda and it's that big, I have to like carve out some time to play it. So.
Well, since you just mentioned it, I'm a Nintendo enthusiast and I have the Switch. So, what do you think of Breath of the Wild?
Oh, cool! I'm loving it. I love how immersive it is. It's fun exploring, and there's a lot of things that crack me up. Where Link sneaks into the people's houses when they're sleeping.
Yeah,
and you can just stare at them.
There's a lot of. Go ahead.
Yeah, how it's Link has been asleep for 100 years or something. Yep. He has all these pictures on his phone. He has a cell phone basically, and he's got all these pictures on there, all these things that happen that he doesn't remember. It's like The Hangover with Link basically, and all the magic spells and stuff are like the apps on the phone. So it's Link with a cell phone.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they put a lot of thought into it. Like there's the weapons that attract the lightning, and you're always affected by temperature. You have to like bundle up for the cold, and there's a lot going on, and so I think it's really cool.
Yeah, now just to stay on that because I'm a big fan of the game. What I love about it is that you can't get attached to weapons because most of them all break. There are a few that you can repair, but it makes the game so much more fun because I play a lot of like Final Fantasies and RPGs where you get like a high level weapon and you like have to get that weapon. But in Zelda, it's especially in the early go of it, you just like, oh, that one broke. Let me get another one. Like it was just a clever way of not getting that attached feeling to your weapons, and it just made the game fun and easy to do and easy to play, So
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I always get upset. I'm like, oh man, I lost that weapon, but then I find a new one. I'm like, oh wait, what's this?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a fun game, so that's cool that you're playing it.
The only thing I'm not really that big a fan of is the graphics, actually.
Yeah.
It's like
okay.
a bit,
That's what I said when I first saw the trailer. I was like, no, I'm not going to play this.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like you get used to it, but it's like the shading is sort of like there's parts where like half his face is shadow and the other half is light. It just kind of has, I mean, I know it's a style, like whatever, but
it's like Wind Waker,
yeah, the cell shaded stuff, but it's it just looks like it's not filled in yet. Like to me, it looks like it's not finished.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, then what's your favorite Zelda game though?
Oh, it's still Link to the Past.
Right.
Nice.
But this one I think is really it's really good. I think as far as like the 3-dimensional Zelda games, like this one's the best, I think, from what I played.
By far.
Cool.
I agree.
As you mentioned earlier, any artist knows that with art comes criticism, and I want to know, like, how do you deal with criticism? Do you read the comments? Do you care what people say? Like, tell me about that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't have time, honestly. Usually, I'm too busy making the next video to, but no, I mean, I know like the nerd videos, it's like, oh, he's too angry or he's not angry enough. It's like, okay, well, which is it? What do you want me to do? If you read everything you couldn't please everybody. There's no possible way.
It's impossible.
Right. Yeah.
Well, then, like, how important is it to kind of just like carve out your own niche then and not listen to the haters? It's like you kind of just like you went straight ahead and you don't listen to anybody. You just do your own thing, and look what's happened. It's just it's a testament to being unique and believing in yourself. What would you say to somebody that's like that sees your videos and is inspired to make their own videos? Like, what kind of advice would you give them?
Oh, yeah, it's a long story. I'm trying to think of what's the best. Because when I always try to think of like what's the best advice to give people, like short, aside from like writing a whole book or something.
Right.
Sure.
Like what's the short takeaway? I mean, like the one thing I always say is to be resourceful. I mean, that's kind of the message with the movie is like use your resources, use what you have available to you, and you'll find a way to do it. And then for people who are in high school, I always it's important to have something to make you feel confident, something to some kind of path to choose. Keep yourself active, keep yourself busy doing something creative that's positive. And it's a form of expression too. It's a good positive way to express yourself. Give yourself a voice through your art. So yeah, I just hope what I do encourages people.
Yeah, and along those on that philosophical side, I think that's what makes the nerds stand apart from like everybody and their mom's making YouTube videos, right? It's just and there, like you said, there's millions, there's all sorts of people trying to do, and like maybe they're trying to do what you're doing, but they can't do it because it's not you, That's like what I think is really great about the nerd is that you're not just trashing the video game, like you're also like kind of in a way like lifting it up. It's like a backhanded compliment show.
It is. It really is. Like if I really hated these games, I would. If I just wanted to sweep them under the rug, I wouldn't talk about them. They would not be brought up at all. So. And that's one of the things the nerd realizes in the movie. It made it kind of like self-aware. Like he's like, I'm like, he's working at a game store and he's selling the games, and he realizes that when he tells them not to buy the game, not to play it, then they do because he's realizing that bad games are. Because that's true. It's like I've actually had like retro game stores. The owners have always told me like, oh, every time you review a game, all these people come in and ask for that game.
Wow,
that's cool though. I like that.
Well, and like kind of. What's your thoughts on that? Like that idea of something being so bad that it's good.
What's my thoughts on it? I mean, that's part of my whole. It's something I understand very well. Like, so I understand why that appeal is like because like one of my favorite movies was Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Right.
So like I like the so bad it's good category, and then. this was my first time figuring that out with games. I was like, oh, this applies to games just as well as movies. So when people latched onto that, they found the same humor in that, and then I understood it, that they share the same humor where something bad is funny.
Have any developers reached out to you after seeing a review, like thanking you or like being angry at you? Anything like that?
Not many that's really that with the video games, but with a board game, like the creator of Key to the Kingdom actually reached out once, and he was really happy that that we paid tribute to that game. Sometimes I get I mean, a lot of indie developers, like lots of people, but I mean, I don't do those as nerd episodes usually. There was one about somebody who worked on the Atari Jaguar port of Doom.
I think I had that game. I might have.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had Jaguar. I did. One of the few, maybe, for the time.
Yeah. I think my question in the video was, why didn't the game have any music? And they answered that. He actually gave like an explanation. It was like a legal issue, basically.
Oh, wow.
I think. And then at the end, he was just like, I know it's a lousy excuse, but that's what it was. That's what happened.
That's funny. Do you have you ever? I don't know if this is a weird question, but have you ever thought of a video game for the nerd? Maybe like a fun.
Well, there are video games that have been made for the nerd.
Oh well, I didn't know.
But have you ever wanted to design a video game?
Yeah, I guess that's probably the best question.
Oh, to design one myself?
Yes.
No, I mean I haven't. I mean, cause I just have my hands in too many other things. But no, it's not really. But there was a time when I was a kid, I tried experimenting in like every type of art that I could. There was I tried to make a Godzilla RPG game.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. It was pretty much like text. It was just a text game, pretty much. But it was all in GW Basic, and I think I figured that out when I was playing. Like now I'm just hopping from one story to the next. But there's a game designed by Bill Gates called Donkey. And it was
really
my computer. Yeah. And all it was like a really old game, this old DOS game, and it was just two lanes on a highway. You're a car, and there's donkeys that come down the road, and you just switch lanes to avoid the donkeys, and if you hit them, you lose, and that's pretty much it. But then I realized that it was funny how when you hit the donkeys, they would split apart in all these interesting ways. And I found that there was a command you type in that, like you do this with you could do it with like any game back then, where it brings up the entire like source code to the game, and you have all that. And then I would start like messing with that basically and see what it would do. I'm like, okay, let me change this coding. And then now the donkey, like goatee or whatever, like it's like on top of its head or whatever, and like I would just start like messing with it, so like the donkeys would start looking weird and the colors would change. I would just fuck up the game as much as I could, and then that's when I started being like, oh, I could just make my own game with this. Let me see what I could do if I started from scratch, and then I started to learn the coding just by looking at other games. And I don't know, that was just the stuff I'd waste my time with back then.
That's cool.
Do your parents watch your videos?
Yeah, to a certain extent, I think. I mean, I haven't heard much lately. I think now it's just
they're like, he's making another video.
Yeah, now it's just another day. It's just same old. I don't think that anything. But I think when it first started, I think it was like, oh yeah, so is that going well? And it's like, yeah, it's going good.
Right. Did you screen the movie with them? Did you ever watch it with them? Sit down in the living room and.
Oh yeah, my mom came to the premiere with my sister. So I had a lot of family and friends at the screening, and then my dad, I know he came to the Philly screening, Yeah. So
So yeah, they saw it.
They saw it. They saw it.
Yeah, they did. Actually, my grandpa, it might have been his last movie he's seen.
Oh wow.
Wow.
He passed away the same year the movie came out. After it made its run.
Oh, wow.
And my grandpa, I remember he used to do all kinds of camera tricks with like 8mm and like VHS back in the day, but mostly like 8mm. But he used to do the things where like he would turn the camera off and then he'd put another object in there, and he'd keep cutting so that it would like look like objects were just appearing in the room.
Uh-huh.
Thing. So like when I started doing that kind of stuff, then he started showing me some of the things he did. Like I guess he just got really interested in that, and then he would like I think he was just impressed with how far technology came to. Like,
yeah.
With every generation, there's like
well, yeah,
so
all
much.
the graphics and stuff. I mean, there's some really cool stuff in that movie, man. Like, there's no doubt. Like, there's that shot that Kevin was talking about that I actually went back and looked for, where the UFO is flying on the side of the shot and like it's zooming in.
I think Kevin said that was one of his favorite effects. Actually,
yeah. It was really effective. Like, there's some really like effective stuff.
I remember really like that. And there's also this part where there's like like there's so many little details. Like there's an explosion in the inside Area 51. There's when the missile takes off, the room like kind of bursts into flame.
Uh-huh.
And
right.
Closely, there was like a styrofoam coffee cup that was sitting on the desk. And now the animator could have done whatever they wanted. They could have just got rid of the cup altogether or whatever. But they decided to make the styrofoam cup sort of bounce off, when the explosion happened, actually being destroyed. I'm like, that's some detail right there. The cup gets destroyed.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, actually, just so you know, I knew who you were, but it wasn't until like I knew
who you were.
I knew who you were. I'm not a big, like, just to give you an idea, like I wasn't a big YouTube watcher per se of people's stuff. Like, I mean, I would watch videos like on Reddit or anything that was linked off YouTube. But Scott was a huge fan of yours, and he got me into it. Is and now I'm the first video I actually watched of yours was the Ghostbusters review. To be honest. And then I started watching all your old videos and kind of like catching up. And I got hooked, and I like motherfucker Mike stuff, like I'm into it. So I'm grateful that kind of Scott brought me into the AVGN fold. And then the movie was awesome because the first time I saw it was at the screening that we interviewed Kevin at. So it was pretty interesting for me because I got to talk to him, and also see the movie right after. So it was pretty enjoyable. I love the movie. I'm all about like Plan 9 from Outer Space. I'm a fan of those kind of movies. Like, and you just did your own thing, and it was awesome. So
it's funny. I actually came in to AVGN late in a way because the first AVGN video I ever saw was the Seaman video, Seaman, whatever.
Cool.
Which was
the Dreamcast one.
I love that game.
And there was a link on Reddit, and they were like, this is fucking hilarious. And I was like, what is this? And then I started watching it, and then I was hooked. I went backwards, and I watched all your videos backwards. And then a friend of mine, it was the quintessential friend, comes up, and I'm like, dude, have you ever seen these videos? And he goes, dude, I've been watching that shit for like 8 years, man. And then he goes, oh, he got stale like a couple. I'm like, whoa, bro, what are you talking about, man? Like, these are amazing. And like, you get the whole like, oh, I've been there, done that. This dude's been around forever. What the fuck have you been doing?
At work the other day, I was talking, mentioning you, and the guy's like, I love the Top Gun video. I love it. It's my favorite. Top Gun. I love that video.
Did you ever land on the carrier? I think you did in one video, though, with the accessory video, right?
Uh-huh. Like, in real life, it's real stupid when you figure it out. You're like, well, there's actually a number for the speed and the altitude, and if you know those two numbers, then all you got to do is get it to get as close to that as possible, and try to keep it there when you land, and it lands every time, and it's not even a problem.
Wow!
It's still stupid the way the whole thing is set up in the game, but it's funnier to see. It's funnier when I do it like accidentally, or I have the power glove, or how many different ways can you twist the trope, and you know.
That's a good one.
So,
awesome, man. Well, we want to thank you so much for sitting down with us. Don't
Yeah,
want to take too
man.
much of your time. Obviously, you're a busy man. You got videos to make. Thank you very much, man. Is there anything you want to promote? Anything coming up that maybe your fans, followers should know about?
oh, well, thanks. I mean, nothing in particular, just the same video. So I'm
Just
just
keep
doing,
watching.
I got a bunch more movie reviews coming out, like
Cool.
every Friday. I'm trying to keep stuff coming consistently, where like every week there's like some kind of movie review or something movie related.
Sure.
And the nerd videos, you know, I'm trying to keep them coming every once in a while. You know, I was just playing some games now, just like auditioning a bunch of games for like next videos. So got a bunch of ideas lined up for them. So yeah, hope you enjoy them when you see them.
Cool.
Awesome, man. Thanks again. You have a wonderful night, and you know, tune into Beta Boys Media.
Oh yeah,